Here we go. Hey, good evening. It is Zoom in on a fresh conversation, and it's Monday night all over again. And tonight, our special guest is Mr. Keith Kareen Williams. Hi, Keith. How are you doing?
I'm
I'm so
good. I'm
glad
good.
you joined us tonight. Keith is the author of more than 20 books at this
More than
point.
20
Yeah,
books. Yep.
in multiple genres: sci-fi, erotica, murder and suspense, and urban chronicle, just to name a few. Keith has already agreed to be a featured author at the Fresh Book Festival in
Yeah.
2022, and I'm so happy that he accepted that invitation. So thank you, Keith.
I
Zoom in on
wouldn't
a
miss
fresh
it.
conversation is sponsored by Eyeless Diamonds LLC, brought to you by Milton McCulloch, author of Love and Emancipation and host of Night Talk, L.D. Robinson from Ladero Press and the Fresh Book Festival 2022. If you have any questions for Keith, please put them in the chat box at the end of the session. We will have answer your questions at that time. This conversation is being recorded. And so good evening, Keith. Could you take just a few minutes and tell our guests a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am Keith Kareen Williams. I have written, as Donna told you, over 20 books. I stopped counting, right? I can't bother. But, I write in many different genres just because I always want to give the reader something fresh and something new. And that's how I am in every aspect of my life. I listen to all different types of music. I watch all types of movies. So all of my books are a part of me. So that's why I bounce around like that. And I like the challenge of it. So
Well, Keith is also a single dad, raised two magnificent children,
thank
all the
you.
while he's writing book after book after book. And that's probably a book in itself. So
Yeah.
when you get through writing about all that, we
Yeah.
really would like a journal through a single dad's eyes.
And
You
that's
know,
I'm glad that you said that because during the pandemic I sat down and it gave me a lot of time to reflect
yeah.
because I didn't realize how tired I was, how weary I was, how much I needed to be still a little bit and just look at my journey and kind of like appreciate the road.
Oh,
Just,
absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. A
because I'm
single
always
man's
looking,
journey. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm always looking at tomorrow and what I want to do and where I want to be. And I'm always, me, I'm always hustling. I'm always on the move. I'm always trying to make things happen. And the pandemic it was almost like a voice said, all right, boys, sit down, catch your breath, take a
Mm-hmm.
minute. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I looked at that journey, I actually started writing notes for a book on fatherhood,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
said, let me share that with the world. And it's not, and I feel single moms or any parents that could benefit from it. You know what I
Oh,
mean? So,
it's not that there aren't other men who do it. There are
mm,
few that write about it,
yeah, there isn't a lot. There isn't
right?
a
There
lot.
are very
Like,
few, right?
because there's so many awkward things that, so many uncomfortable moments and things that I learned, especially like because, I have a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, I know there's another dad somewhere that had to deal with, well, dad, it's my cycle. And you're like, and then
Don't tell
there's
me about it.
how, so there's so many little things and the
Yeah.
differences between raising a girl and a boy and their personalities and the mistakes that I made, the things I had to learn along the way. So I'm going to share it. I'm
Well, we
glad you
all make
mentioned it.
mistakes with our children. So,
Absolutely.
there's just nothing, that's nothing new
Nothing
under
you
the
could do.
sun.
Nothing you could
But,
do.
you've been a father, a daddy, a developer, and a friend. And I just think that that is something that you should share with the world, because a lot of men are stuck. I mean, they say,
Right.
"Oh my God, this is what I got to do," and then you can show them. Not only can you do it, it's been done.
It's been done.
It's been
Right.
done. So I just want to take a minute to his children are just so wonderful. We just want to take a minute to talk about what they've developed from your artistic journey.
My son, most teenage boys, or not, he's not a teenager now, he's 21, but like most young men would kind of be like looking to go and maybe get a job somewhere, like maybe at a mall but he's watched me all these years and he is
Mm.
determined. Like Dad, nah, I'm staying home. I'm working on these designs. I'm selling this merch. I'm selling these t-shirts. That's what it is. And I asked him, like, you don't want to just get a little gig in the mall? He said, no, I don't want to answer to anybody. I want to be my own boss. I said, all right, well, you know what? You're young. You don't have any kids. You don't have any, big responsibilities on your shoulder. So this is the time for you to put all your energy into that. So I'm proud of him in that regard, because he doesn't want a boss. He is determined not to answer to anyone but himself. And I
There's
think it's
nothing
because,
wrong with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he sees that it can be done, and I'm proud of that because he saw me do it. So,
And this that college stream to be a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, whatever, is
right.
not for everybody, right?
No, it's not, because he
It's just
hates
not.
school. He
Right,
really does.
right, right.
He'll do the work. He'll get the grades. He was in college for a semester, and then he said to me, Dad, because he was going for like graphic design and art. He said, Dad, all the stuff they teach me, I already learned it in high school.
Right.
I'm not learning anything. I'm just kind of like just showing up. So I said, all right, well, do your thing. Make it work. Make it work for you.
Yeah,
Get your
absolutely.
get your business off the ground, and I'm here to help him along the way in any way that I can. So that's him.
And he's
My
very artistically inclined.
Yes, he's
Very
really good.
artistic.
He's really
And
good.
what about that beautiful daughter of yours?
She is a hustler.
Yeah.
He's got the hustle. He has the creative part, but I kind of got to light a fire under him sometimes.
Right.
No, no, no. She is all hustle. She got the hustle part. She's actually about to start college in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted to get. That's what I mean. Like I said, you could wait till the new. She said, no, I'm going in the summer. She's starting because she's supposed to really start like September. No, she's taking classes in the summer. She's actually teaching now. She's teaching I think coding and something else. But she's teaching
Black
students,
girls code. Black girls code. I love that.
and she got a job in the mall. She just came home from it. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I see you, hustler. So she's on her way too. She's
Yeah,
doing her
well, the
thing.
book is there, right? The journey.
The
You
journey is
really need to share it with because I think it'll inspire a whole lot of young men out here who are, struggling to raise their kids by themselves, right?
Because you told me to, I'm gonna do it because I was kind of on the
Yay.
fence, like, shit, sometimes you feel like, would anybody really want to read this or do you? But I
Oh,
see you're right.
absolutely.
You're right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, those beautiful babies of yours. I want to ask you, you've written 20 books.
Right.
How long have you been writing? And
Okay.
tell us what made you decide to start.
Okay. My mother taught me how to read from I was a little boy. I was like 3. You remember the C Jane runs,
Oh
C
yeah.
Spot
Oh yeah.
runs? She had me on her lap reading those to me. So I used to write my own little stories. I loved reading as a kid. I loved especially like comic books. I would make my own comics. In school, I had a talent for it. Like I would enter writing contests and win. It kind of made me lazy in school too because I was good at math because I kind of have an analytical mind. I'll break down things and see how they work. So I would kind of like I had like the cheat code in school where they would give you a book to read and you didn't really read it, like you read some of it, but I would get the gist of it. And I would write a whole paper on the little bit that I read. And the teachers would write back on the paper, oh, this is brilliant. I never saw it this way. Blah, blah, blah. So, it made me, but I used to win writing contests. So I think I've always been writing, but I didn't decide to do it until professionally until my second semester in college, where I had a professor read some of my work for his workshop. And he said, this is what you should be doing. He said, I
Mm.
don't know, because I wanted to be an engineer at first. And then I went into college undecided because I had to, long story, I couldn't really afford the college I wanted to go to.
Absolutely.
So I went to a college here in New York, and the professor said to me, I don't know what you're planning on doing or what your major is,
Right.
but this should be it.
Mm.
And so I wrote my first book, put it out just to see if I really was good. And when I got the feedback from people and total strangers, I was like, okay, it confirmed it to me that I'm really, really, really good at this. So
And there's just so many. So Is there one genre you find easier to write in than others?
Um, I find the mm, I find some of the urban stuff a little easier because I pull so much from life. The erotica, believe it or not, is difficult. It's hard. It's
Well, Higher
hard to
Learning is one of my favorites, but I mean, I've probably got 5 or 6 more, but yeah.
that. Yeah, it's hard because you want to keep it sexy. You know, Donna, you write erotica. You
It's
want to keep it
different from a
sexy,
man's perspective, though. I mean,
right?
we write the same, but different. Yeah, yeah,
Right, right. So
yeah, yeah.
I try my best to, as a man, I think I'm able to write it because I listen to women.
Mm,
I listen. In order to write it and for it to speak to them, you have to listen. Because I don't think if I didn't listen to women, and I think if I wrote just from a male perspective, it might not have the same effect. So what I love doing is writing the erotica and letting the women know, like, I understand you. I
right,
got you. I'm gonna
right.
take care of you. I know what you like. I know what you want. And then I also get a chance to show them from the male perspective,
What it looks
maybe
like.
things that they didn't see,
Mm,
what it looks like. Because the opposite sexes, they don't always understand each other,
right.
right? So I think it's, and I get that from readers like, wow, I didn't see it that way. So that's that.
Yeah,
So that
it's very different.
is different and it's
But
intense.
listen, I love your sci-fi, and I don't know if most people know, but Keith has been a benefactor to my prison ministry for books, and I'll say that they really like the sci-fi.
Yeah.
So now, listen, I know that Star Wars was made out of, I don't know, somebody crazy. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying to myself, how is it that you thought about that sci-fi, people on other planets, and then,
Right.
yeah, tell me about
You,
that.
you know what it is? And
No,
I
tell me
can
about
see
it.
I could see how they would love it, and
They
I'm
love
glad.
it.
And I'm glad because it's probably the same for them as it was for me when I used to read it, and I would read comic books and fantasy and sci-fi because I grew up in the hood, and
Yeah,
and so some authors kind of like they write urban and it's their environment. That's why I say the urban is easy for me because I lived it. Is
right,
I could do that in my sleep,
right.
right? The other stuff like the sci-fi and the fantasy, that's what I used to read to escape.
Mm.
I was the kid, I always joke with people, I was the kid that would be in front of the trap house reading comic books on the stoop, and the older dude's not bothering me, like, oh, he's reading comic books, leave him alone, right? So that's my thing. Like I would, sit in my mother and my grandmother's kitchen. I had my little corner because we lived in a really small apartment, but
Hmm.
they let me have my space in the kitchen where I had my boxes of comic books and it took my mind off of all the horrible things that going around you. So for the men that are, locked down, I'm sure it's the same thing for them. Where for a little
Right.
while you're not
You're not there.
reading, right? You're not reading necessarily the urban because that's probably what got you there, right? You're reading something that takes your mind somewhere else, and the awful world and things around you, and the feeling of confinement. You could escape
Mm,
inside that book. You could go anywhere. You're not, because that's how I used to feel claustrophobic. I'm in a one-bedroom apartment with 7 people,
mm.
right? So the only thing I could do was take my mind somewhere else to have
Yes.
any type of privacy. And it's the same for them. They're locked in this little cell. And so it gives them a chance to go somewhere else and shake off that claustrophobia and that feeling of being trapped. So that's like
Yeah.
I love that when you tell me that, because
It's yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I think they've read it more than once, right? Because for a whole year they couldn't get anything.
they couldn't
So
get any right.
they're trying
And
to
I
get
still have some. I still have some that I'm gonna try now, maybe.
well, let me
To send
check.
to
I
him.
don't want it to come back again. I
Okay.
sent some things last week, and I'm
Okay.
hoping from Amazon to see if it would,
Okay.
catch on.
All right. So let
So
me know if it gets through, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
okay.
And so when, if you don't know, all of these gentlemen are lifers. So now between Keith and myself and several other authors that now they have a little library, and now they think they're the top dogs on the field, but it's wonderful, right? And it really it is a mission to make sure that they know that there are people out there who are thinking about them. So thank you for that. So 2020 gave us all obstacles. Tell us how you navigated 2020 early and 2021, particularly because you were not selling books on the street.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
When they started shutting things down, I was like, what? Right? Huh? And for a little while, I was still, like going out. But then at a certain point, it was almost pointless. I've lived in
Nobody
New
was
York.
out.
Nobody. I've lived in New York City my entire life, right? My favorite season is always winter because when we get heavy snow, that's the quietest you'll see the streets, right? People are inside, and I'll even go outside and go for walks in the snow just because it's always so noisy here and it's quiet. Donna, I have never, ever, 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 ever been in Manhattan. Not 1 o'clock in the morning, not 4 in the morning. Not times when other cities shut down, because you know how it is here. It never stops.
Right.
Where I'm outside and it's literally like I am legend. Like there's nobody out here, like for real. Just me by myself on this entire 2 blocks, 2 Manhattan City blocks. I'm in the train station. I actually have footage where I'm in the train station and it's just me and like a homeless guy. Nobody else. Empty subway cars. So now it doesn't make sense for me to go out. So what I started to do, and I'm happy for that. I saw an uptick in my ebook sales. I normally don't sell a lot of ebooks, but with everybody being locked in, certain people. Let me tell you when the internet sales picked up. When everybody watched everything on Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu that they wanted to see,
But
because they weren't making any new shows. Everybody's locked down, right? And so you caught up on every series that you wanted to see, every movie that you wanted to see, and now people like there's nothing else to watch. And then you saw an uptick with the books online. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I managed. And I also started taking on a lot of freelance work
right.
because I like to see that like a lot of authors, some people kind of just sat down in it and wallowed in it, and other people took the extra time to revamp books, to go back in and have books re-edited. They did covers over, they had me do interiors over, things like that. So that's now a part of my income where I take on freelance work. I didn't want to do it before, but I actually get fulfillment when somebody brings me their book.
Oh,
And I say, all right, I
absolutely.
got you. Let me fix it up for you. Let me tighten it up. And then you send it back to me. Wow, this is so that's what I've been doing too. So that's kind of like
Well, I
how I
mean, it's
navigate.
like giving a baby over to you.
Right. I know
Sometimes
how
it takes
important.
9 months to do a book. That's birth. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. So when
So
you have somebody who trusts you
right.
to be able
Right.
to consume what you're writing and make it better,
Hmm.
yeah, that's wonderful, right?
So that's what I've been doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So when at one point before the pandemic, you were heavily involved in filmmaking and screenplay writing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So where is that journey now?
Right now, as they start to relax the restrictions, you know, in terms of mask wearing and everything else, I think probably August, I'll
Mm.
go back in and start to cast again and do all of that and get everybody together. Um, I've been taking out the equipment because, like, my daughter had her high school stuff, like shows and stuff. So I've been taking out the cameras to get reacquainted with the equipment and everything else. But yeah, about August, I think I'm gonna start again. It gave me, and the pandemic was it. I'm that quiet time. I actually went in, I reworked some scripts, things like that. So I had time to work on all these projects that I never had time for. So I have a lot of new ideas. I even have a podcast I want to show. I want to start. I'm paying my son to design the logo because he don't work for free. Not even working for me.
You should start. I start singing Shirley Caesar on my son, It always works, The
You know,
9 months I carried you,
right. And I
laying
mean,
inside me, no charge.
right. He would, but you know what? I actually offered to pay him
No, I mean, no, it's
because
really
I
good.
respect his time. But
Mhm.
but I tell you this, Donna, when you offer him money, it's motivation though. Because
Right,
if it was free, he would have been like,
right,
yeah, I get to it. I
exactly.
get to it. He got other work. So I said, I got you. I'll pay you. He said, okay. He got started yesterday. He started sending me like, mock-ups, and then we go back and forth, and I tell him what I like him to change and so on and so forth. So yeah, I have that podcast that I'm gonna start. So all of these things that I always wanted, that I kept saying I'm gonna do, I'm gonna
I'm
do,
gonna
I'm gonna
do.
do,
Mhm.
now I'm doing it. And I don't know about anybody else, but I know this thing in terms of just life, relationships, procrastination, things that you want to do, things you want to experience, places you want to go, people that you should let know that you love them.
Mm,
Everybody better have learned this lesson, because had this thing been a little bit worse, this is all over for all of us.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's the air you breathe.
Just a little bit worse,
Yeah,
a little bit deadlier, and it's over for all of us, just like that.
yeah.
So you don't put off things that you want to do.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
So we were talking about off camera, different streams of income. Are
Yeah.
you prepared to accept books to write in the screenplay? And if that's the case, just letting everybody know, how would somebody have the opportunity to for you to do that and discuss, payment or whatever?
Yeah.
How does that work?
What I normally do is, I actually have a contract, a generic contract, and we have a
Hmm.
conversation. Um, I'll they could book me. There's a couple ways I could
Okay.
coach you through doing it yourself, where you book sessions with me. If you want me to do it, I have a contract for that, and I pretty much tailor the contract to the client, because not every job is the same.
No,
Not
absolutely not.
not everybody's situation is the same, and what they want is always not the same. So basically, and we'll have a session where we discuss what they're looking to accomplish, what they want to do. Time frame matters in terms of my rates. The more time I have, I'm able to stretch out the fee. But if like
Hmm.
you want it right now, I try to explain to them, well, listen, if you need it right now, that means that I have to put other work on hold. So that changes things. So it's a lot of factors that go into it, but I know what it is to want to do it.
I know.
And I don't charge the prices that I would say are industry standards. I'm like way below.
Well,
Not
I don't
because
think you
I'm
should
not
do
good,
that, but
not because, and sometimes I feel bad, because it's almost as if I don't charge those high prices, people act differently about it, right? And the only reason why I don't charge those prices like that is because I want us to be able to tell our stories.
absolutely.
So it's my way of giving back. I can't do it for free
Um,
because it's my time, right?
right.
But understand that when I give you these rates, it's not because I'm any less professional than anybody else, I'm any less skilled. It's just I'm actually trying to help,
Right.
right? So a
Right.
lot of the freelance work that I do, I'll tell people my price, and they say, "What? You only charge that? Why?" And I'm like, "Because I'm actually trying to help. I don't want to put it out of your reach, because that's why a lot of times our stories don't get told, because the financial aspect of it is out of reach, right? So, that's
I
my
mean,
way of
listen,
helping.
it happens all the time. I get phone calls. We love Eyeless Diamonds. I'm an agent. I want to do this,
Right,
and this. And I said, okay, cut to the chase.
right.
Give me the
Let's get
end of the
to it.
conversation.
Right, let's
And
get
what
to
does
it.
that look like? Right.
Right.
Well, between 5,000. Okay.
Right.
Nobody has that kind of money to give up, right now, really.
Right. Right.
Not after a year of not working or
Exactly.
semi-working or trying to bring your livelihood into the area that you live, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that in itself was a feat, to
Right.
just try to change your whole trajectory to do
Right.
something different, right? So I understand and thank you, because you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I love Zoom In On A Fresh conversation. I love Fresh because that's the only way. They're not going to make platforms for us.
No.
They're just not.
No.
They're
No.
just not.
And we have so many stories to tell
Mm,
outside of the common tropes,
right.
right?
Right.
Outside of the common roles that they give us and the common storylines. You know what I mean? There's so many other stories to be told, right? So I want us to start taking up space and telling our stories
Absolutely.
telling our stories the way we want to tell them. Not what they tell us is profitable and marketable. You
Right.
don't know. You're not us. You don't know what we want to see, right?
Mm,
So, because it also, in terms of our music, in terms of our media, in terms of how we're portrayed, it has a psychological effect on us as a whole,
absolutely. And our young people.
right? So we need to take control of that. My uncle used to always tell me, you can't trust the minds of our children to people who don't love us,
Right.
right? So we have to do these things. We have to, we have to control the narrative. Not corporations.
Right.
We have to control the narrative. It's our
Yeah.
stories.
Say that.
It's
Our
our
story.
stories.
Exactly. That's why I love Leave the Door Open by Bruno Mars and Silk,
Mhm.
because that is a love story, right? It's a love song, and we haven't heard one of those forever. And I'm just so happy to see there's some words in there that little people should not be saying,
Right, right,
but on
right.
an as far as a song is concerned, I love seeing them on the internet singing it together, and because they can't do that with the other garbage that we hear, you know.
Right,
That's
right. And it's corporations determining that, because what it does is it puts our young people in a space of deliberate consumerism
right.
where they have them just consuming whatever they sell them to give themselves value, right? Where I was just this weekend I was hanging out. And we having a couple drinks, we playing music, but we listening to, like, and this is even before my time, like Sam Cooke,
Yeah.
and you listening to songs where people were telling our
Story.
stories, right? Whether it was about love. One of my favorite Sam Cooke songs is the one where um he didn't have no honey on Saturday. You know what song I'm talking about, right?
Another Saturday night, and I
Yes,
ain't
that's
got
right. And
nobody.
that it, there you go. So my thing is, those were our stories, our experiences,
Yeah.
right? And if you look at if you look at that music, and I'm speaking from a guy where, listen, I listen to trap music and everything, but if you
But you're
listen
an
to those,
adult, so you
I
got that human
differentiate
divide,
between
right?
right. I know that's entertainment, because
Right.
even some of the raunchy ratchet songs that's out now, I'm
Right.
like, that's catchy, that's funny, but it has its place. But
Right.
for young people, it's
Right.
toxic because the men, we forgot. It's almost like we look at each other as objects, as things. We
Mm.
don't look at each other as people, right? The young men look at women as things, like possessions, like cars, things you can buy, and they have the young women feeling like objects and things, like, buy me. Like, if you can't buy me, I can't love you, right?
Mm.
With our older music, it was music where we were telling a woman what she means to us. There were songs where men were apologizing for messing up.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite Billie Holiday songs is "Take All of Me," right?
Mm.
You hear how she's like, "I'm yours." You know what I mean? So there was love, right? This whole everything that's going on now, and like I said, I listen to it. I'm not like an old fogey, like, listen
Right.
to that.
Right. Right. Right.
But I understand what it's doing to us psychologically,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not healthy. And if you go to the top, who's making the decisions in terms of who gets a record deal, who gets airplay, it's not us.
It's
right? It's
not.
not us.
It's not. It's the industry.
It's the industry.
And that's the other thing we need to take more, a hold of. But
yes, the industry. So,
yeah, the
yeah.
book industry, the music industry.
All of that because what it is stories are important. That's why in every culture they exist. It's crucial to your identity, right? And what happened was from the time of slavery, they hijacked our identities.
They made us not speak our language.
Right.
We couldn't even, yeah.
They erased who we were and told us this is what we are now. And
Okay.
it continues. It continues. They define us. And what I'm kind of glad to, not kind of, I'm very glad to see is that we're starting to define ourselves.
Exactly.
And we need to do that. And sometimes people have to understand, like, we're kind of, why it always seems like we're kind of behind is because even other people that say immigrate to America, they brought their culture. They brought their history.
Their
They know who
language,
they are.
everything.
They know who they are. With us, we're in an oppressive system that told us that no, you're not human. You're this, and we've been fighting against that.
Ever
and
since.
what happened is right, and so we were almost like empty vessels. And what they started to do was fill us up with things that benefit them. Right? We're gonna make you buy these cars. We're gonna make you buy this jewelry. We're gonna make you buy these sneakers. Right? This is what you are. And we have to push back and say, no, this is what we are because we define ourselves, no one else. And until we take control of that, it's going to be problems.
Absolutely. Well, we went way left, right?
Yes.
So, tell us about your latest book, Foreign.
Okay. Foreign is a perfect example of what I mean by us telling our stories.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I want to write another, because every now and then I give him a little urban, right? I give him a street novel to show him I could do it, right? So I said, why not write an urban story, but put a spin on it where I'm telling you the story of a family that immigrated to America from Jamaica and how hard it is to raise your family in a country that you're not from, with a different system, with different values, and do it in an environment that isn't even how can I put it? It's not a type of environment to raise a family. It's not a family environment where they ended up moving to, right? It's one of those places where the streets will eat your children. So it's this struggle of the parents who, because you can instill whatever you want to instill in your kids, you still have to do battle with the streets.
Absolutely. Once they close that door and go down the
That's
steps.
it. That's it. So that's basically what it's about. Where it's real family drama, and also I get to, it's that struggle to keep the streets from consuming your children. So, and again, that's our story. There's a space for that story, so because even between the North and the South is different.
Absolutely.
Harlem is different from North Carolina. So I know a lot of people will relate to it because there were people that came from, say, this deep South and moved up north. And this story is very similar to like people who came from the Caribbean, who came up north. So that's the story I'm trying to tell.
And so you're taking pre-orders right now, right?
Yes.
And they can do that through
They
Facebook.
can do that through Facebook. Reach out to me. I'm having my daughter revamp my website.
Oh,
she's awesome.
I was going to talk to you about that.
She's awesome.
I was just there the other day. I was like, oh,
yeah,
there's some stuff missing.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah. So that's why it's like that, because I want to change the aesthetic. I want to make it easier to navigate. And she does that freelance also. Another job she does.
Right.
So this, these couple months before, these couple weeks before she starts school, she and I are gonna sit down and I tell her how I want it, and she's gonna do it. And it should be on the website also. But if anybody's interested in pre-ordering, you could reach out to me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, and I'll send you the link.
Okay.
And
I want to go ahead.
Yeah. No, and I'll be posting like posters for the book with all the information leading up to the release as well.
I didn't get a chance to read this book, but I was always curious about water flows through open doors.
Water flows under doors. Yes, that
Yeah,
was my first one.
what was that about? I didn't read it. I need to read
That
it.
one was a love story, but like a gritty love story with things that I would say that Water Flows Under Doors was, if I could describe it as a painting, that's where I grew up. That's my block. That's my friends. That's people that I saw. Those are situations that I saw. But I didn't tell it from the superhero drug dealer
No, you didn't.
perspective, right?
Yeah.
I told a story of the everyday people that live in this place and their interactions and their lives, and I showed their humanity versus just making them into these tropes that Hollywood is in love with.
Right.
Right. I made them really human and told their story. So a lot of people, they still love that book to this day.
You know, one of my other favorites is Time Doesn't Stop for a Broken Clock.
Broken Clocks. I love that
Man,
one too.
I love that.
I love that one. I love that one. That one was special because I feel like I was on a journey while I was writing that one.
It was really good, really
Thank
good.
you,
So those
thank
of
you,
you
thank
who
you.
haven't read that, it's one, well, you know, I like all his writings, but that's one of my favorites too.
Thank you, thank you. I
Yeah.
love that one too.
So tell us, all the characters in your head,
Yeah.
and there's a lot, right?
There's a lot.
Before you write a book, have the characters already developed, or are the characters developing as you're writing?
Most of the time, they exist already.
Mm-hmm.
They exist. They are, right? And what I end up doing is I end up writing like scenes and things that happen, but they exist. It's almost, I was having this conversation with one of my friends and we were talking about meditation and so on and so forth. And I'll be honest with you, Donna, sometimes it doesn't feel like I'm writing the book.
Right.
It feels like it's writing itself. That's why in one of my books I had a quote where I said the ghosts of dead authors live inside my pen, right? Because that's how it feels. It feels like it's almost like an out-of-body experience.
Right.
Like the words just come, the characters exist in my head as if they're real people. So it's easy to write them because they're real. It's just a matter of really looking at them, really listening to them, and really seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like that in real life with people. So it's easy for me, right? I don't, like some people will meet a person and they kind of say, all right, well, that's that type of person, but not really see the person. Even people in your life that do bad things or are negative and, people, my daughter asked me, like, how could you forgive that person? I said, look, I could forgive them because I don't rent space in my heart for anybody. I'm not going to hold on malice or hold grudges. If you're bad for my life, I'll just avoid being around you. But I might not necessarily hate you because I'll look at your life and understand why you are the way you are. Some people don't even know why they do the things they do, right? But if you really saw them and you paid attention to all the little things that made them that way, you would have empathy for them. Because you understand, even some of the meanest and the worst people, the most miserable people, there are factors and things that created them, right? And I'm not telling you to be around them. I'm not telling you to date them. I'm not telling you to marry them, right? But there are reasons for why human beings are the way they are. And so this is why I'm able to be like, yeah, I don't want to be around that person. Or, there's some people, like, say, family members, you can't avoid them, right? I just learn how to maneuver around them. And sometimes
and write about them.
And right. I'll just put you in a book. You know what I mean? You're 100% correct. I'm just put you in a book.
Put you in a book.
Put you in a book.
Put you in a book. When you said that your pen is, what is that saying? You said the pen is.
Which one? Oh, wait. Which part? Because there's a couple.
Your pen is the dead authors.
Oh, the ghosts of dead authors live inside my pen. Yeah.
And it's funny how when the character decides to say whatever they're going to say, and you're like, I'm not writing that. And they're like, yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Right.
Yes, you are.
Because if you fight against it, right, what you find is you'll be 4 chapters deep.
Right.
And now nothing makes sense.
Right.
And that character is like sitting there like, you ready to listen now? Right?
Yeah, I remember when Isla said, when the cell phone towers go down and the lights go out, all you have left is a flashlight and a good book. I was like, well, I'm not saying that, but
Right. But that's it.
but that's it, and
That's
it
it.
comes from out of nowhere, which is really nice.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, that's so true. Cell phone towers are
Mhm.
down, lights
Right.
go out. All you got left is a flashlight
I
and a good book.
I dare any author to ignore their character's
Right,
wishes and do what they want.
right.
It's going to be disaster.
It's gonna be disastrous, disastrous. So and she wouldn't even move till I wrote that. That was really funny.
Right.
That was a long
Right.
time ago. But okay, I don't want to take up all your night because I know you've had a busy day. But tell me the biggest challenge you had while publishing, and tell me the greatest accomplishment you've had while publishing.
The greatest challenge has always been getting readers to pick up that first book of mine.
Mm,
That's always it was and it still is the hardest part because I actually called the Small Business Association today to get some. I said, let me, because they have free counseling and they'll connect you with retired executives in various fields. So I'm trying to like step my business game up. The creativity I got on lock, but I want the business side of it, my marketing, everything to get better. So when I was speaking to the gentleman, basically like you know, the hardest part is because I told him most of the time, once someone reads one of my books,
hmm
they'll go back and read all. So I just need help getting them to pick up that first one. I got it from there, right? They read that first chapter, I got it from there. I just need them to pick up that first one. So that's the biggest challenge. The greatest accomplishment I would say is really lasting this long
mm.
because it took grit,
More
it
grit.
took determination, it took irrational confidence, and it took unshakable stubbornness.
Irrational confidence. I love that.
Irrational
I'm gonna,
confidence.
I think I'm gonna use it.
Yeah, irrational. Because, look, I saw a post online last week where a woman she put up the post and she said, if you've ever used your creativity to pay a bill, you're successful,
Mm.
right? And I would tell authors, if you ever sold one copy of your book to a stranger, you're successful. If you ever had one stranger, just one, say, wow, I loved your book, you're successful. You took nothing, made it into something tangible, and you put it out in the world. So no, you might not be Stephen King. You're not James Patterson, not John Grisham. You're not J.K. Rowling, right? It doesn't matter. You're successful because you said you were going to do something. Writing a book is not an easy thing to do. Those of us who do it, we're acclimated to doing it, right? We have systems. We all have different methodologies. We have systems to do it, but it's never an easy thing to do, right? You did that. So you are successful, right?
So when it was evident, as it comes evidence to most of us, that Doubleday and all the rest of those guys weren't going to look at what we were writing, right?
Right,
No matter how many you sent out, how many
right,
no letters you get back.
right.
When did you decide that I'm just going to publish these things myself?
When I started doing the research on the industry and I saw what I would have to go through
hmm
to get my books, for them to understand what I was writing, because I wasn't following a formula, right? You have authors out there that have contracts that, this is the thing. If these publishing houses, I had to realize that as an author, and I think musician, anything creative, when you get into it from a business standpoint, you have to know when you're sitting down creating, that's when you're the artist. When you go to sell your product, you have to put that part of you to bed and now you're a business person.
Right.
So as I started looking at even Barnes and Nobles and these places and the books they would carry, if you notice, if you walk past a bookstore, you see a lot of celebrity books out front, ex-politicians, known people, because they have a built-in fan base already, right? The bookstore, I used to take it personal because I did that. I went around to bookstores and I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'll take a copy, see if it sells. You know, they weren't really interested. And I used to take it personal because I'm like, yo, listen, I'm better than half these people on your shelves and you shunning me. But what I had to realize is it's not personal. They want things that will fly off of their shelves. So if Cardi B writes a book, guess what? It's gonna fly. If Barack Obama writes a book, it's gonna fly. If George Bush Sr. or Jr. writes a book, it's gonna fly because people know who they are, right? They already have the built-in fan base. So it's the same with the publishing houses. What I realize is that they, especially when it comes to our stories, they've seen that certain books have seen success. So they build a formula around that. If what you're doing is not that, it's difficult to get them to pay attention to because they don't know what to do with it. They don't want to take the risk. These publishing houses are not in the business of losing money and taking risks. They're not going to. They're going to go with the short thing. We know what this is. We know how to package it. We know about how many copies we'll sell because this author is pretty much the same thing. We have all of these things are plug and play. They have systems.
Yeah, they all have a pro forma. This is what we're going to do. That's it. Right.
There you go. So what I said to myself is I knew that I wanted to write in a lot of different genres. I said it'd be a nightmare for me to try to sell Cursed Immortals to a publishing house that deals with fantasy or War Angel to someone that deals with paranormal. Then I have to look for somebody to do my urban book. I said, you know what? And I'm impatient. I wanted it right now. I didn't want 200 rejection letters. My thing was always, I'm going to get in this. I'm going to do it independently. I'm going to make so much noise eventually that when a publishing house does approach me, they come to the table with real money.
Right.
Because I'm not talking to you unless it's real money.
I don't have to talk. I want you to talk.
Right. I'm not talking to you unless it's real money. Because I've been approached by publishers, but it's like what you said. Let's get to the bottom of this. And then what happens is they give me figures that I say, I do that in my sleep. I could do that in a month, right? I could do that in 6 months. I'm good, right? So it was also about leverage for me. Because if I make a name for myself, you're not coming to me, or I'm not coming to you asking you for a favor or to help me out. We're partners now. Where you see, listen, you have something, we want to benefit. Let's be partners. Let's take our resources and take you to a level that you're going to struggle to get to on your own. If it's not that, Donna, I tell them, don't call my phone.
Right. I was like, no.
I'm good.
Everybody's the cover of my book doesn't look erotic. All you do is open it up. And so, it does pretty well online. So,
Of course. Look, 50 Shades of Grey, right?
Right.
There was nothing erotic about those covers, right? And it's clever, Donna, it's clever marketing. You know why? Not everybody wants to sit on the bus at work and have a half-naked woman on the cover. Everybody, they know what you mean.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah, I used to tell my friends when I went to church on a regular, you can take it to church, nobody would ever know.
Nobody would ever know.
So what was the one pivotal thing you learned about yourself and your writing career in the last 20 years? Has it been 20 years? Was it your first book and how many it sold? Was it when the box arrived and you said, oh my God, I did that thing?
When I always, because I sometimes downplay what I do. What happened was 1 year, and sometimes you toil, and you're not sure if anyone is even noticing or if anyone is listening because you don't have 1 million followers. You're not making $1 million a year. You're not sure, or I wasn't sure if I was even making any impact. And that aha moment, two things. One, the first was when I got invited to a readers retreat,
Mhm.
all expense paid. And it wasn't as if I had a conversation with anybody. The people that wanted me at the event, I had never had any personal interactions with. I just got the offer. So that let me know that, okay, people see you,
Yeah,
right?
they're looking, they're
They
looking.
see you. The second one was when my kids, I brought them to the Harlem Book Fair the first time. They were a little bit older. And when readers told me they came from wherever to come and meet me, and that was a big moment because then I got to look at my kids and I said, you see, I do this. And they was like, they watch and they can't believe it because this is their dad, you know? And people, and it's still weird to me that like somebody would be giddy to like, oh
Mhm.
my God, it's Keith. And I'm like, I'm just me, you know what I mean? But so that kind of also let me know that I have an impact on people's lives. And so that makes it even more special.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So yeah, because a book is such an intimate thing, you
It
know,
is.
because you have to spend time with it, right? You can't microwave a book. You can't like, just fly through it. You spend hours with the book. So that's a powerful thing. So all you writers that's listening, that's a powerful and important thing. Don't don't downplay it or don't give it its due. How important that is.
Right, because people will say, well, everybody writes a book. No, everybody doesn't.
No, everybody doesn't.
Everybody does
Everybody
not.
does not.
Name me 3 people you know who wrote a
Right,
book.
right,
Yeah, right,
right.
right.
A lot of people say I should write a book. I'm going to write a book. Not a
Yeah,
lot of people do it.
no, right. Yeah. So when people say, well, everybody write book. Well, tell me 3 people you know who did.
That's right. That's right. So you once listen, matter of fact, earlier I said if you ever sold a book. Let me tell you something. If you put a book together and whether it's digital or physical, and you have a book that you sat down and because you said I'm going to write a book. If you have one copy, only one, and it's yours and it's sitting on your bookshelf, you're successful.
They're successful, right?
Successful.
Because there's a million other people out there still talking about how they're going to write a book. I'm going to
That's
do
right.
it. I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
do
do it. You actually
it.
did it. That's right.
Does anybody have a question for Keith before we wrap up? Anyone? You can take yourself off mute if you like to. No?
I do.
Okay.
First of all, thank you, Keith. I really have
Yeah.
enjoyed listening to you,
My pleasure. My
and I
pleasure.
can't wait to read some of your books.
Thank you.
I guess my question is a really simple one. Do you have favorite authors?
Yes.
Did you grow up with favorite authors? Is there anyone you think you write a little bit like?
Yes. 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 All yes to all of the above. Um, some of the guys that are like my favorite authors, they're kind of like obscure in terms of mainstream because I was mostly a comic book reader, but they have some incredible authors. Like there's a guy named Chris Claremont. Um, Growing up, I loved Tolkien. I used to read The
Okay.
Lord of the Rings once a year, right? Religiously once a year. The movies kind of spoiled me. I'll get lazy and watch the movies, but I used to read the books all the time. I love Zora Neale Hurston, Ralph Ellison. In terms of who I would say I influenced me, Zora and Ralph Ellison, because growing up I used to read comic books, so that's where the fantasy and the science fiction comes from. I took an African American fiction course in college, and I read because they never gave us those books in school to read,
No, never.
right? So when I read Their Eyes Were Watching God, and then I read The Invisible Man, it blew my mind away because it was people telling our stories, and not just our stories, but our stories unapologetically, unfiltered. I don't care what mainstream thinks about it. This is what it is, and I was so, and it inspired me to Water Flows on the Doors.
Right.
Because if you read that book, in some ways it was like Their Eyes Are Watching God in terms of I was telling our story unapologetically like she did, but from the standpoint of I used to write a lot of poetry. So the metaphors in the book is metaphor heavy, that book, right? That came, I was inspired by The Invisible Man with that. So I would say those two authors, I still have their books right up on my bookshelf. I always, and every like, Black History Month, no matter what, I post articles about them because I'll always be grateful for those two books. And because it let me know, like, wait a minute, you don't just have to tell these fantasy stories. It's all right to speak of how you grew up and speak of yourself and speak of people that you love and people that you know. So yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. Anybody else? You, Mama Tony?
Keith, I had to put my feet up in the chair because you were stepping all over them in your conversation. About I'm gonna be honest about those people who shied away from your books because my first term was sci-fi, and I'm not a sci-fi person. That's my least favorite genre, and I'm like, I'm not reading that shit. And so I like, okay, it's like in church, you got the preacher because the preacher is really talking about you, or you are really talking about me. But I can honestly say that after meeting you and then reading one of your urban fiction books, I still haven't read the sci-fi, but I've
Right.
kept with everything else.
Thank
So
you.
you're right. We have to find out how to get that first book
Right.
into that person's hand, because I was one of those was no, he writes sci-fi. I can
Right.
spend my money. I can spend my money somewhere else.
Right.
No regrets about anything that I've
Oh,
purchased, and
thank
you know
you.
that with
Thank you.
your name
Thank
on
you.
it.
Thank
Anything
you.
that I've purchased with your name on it, I have no regrets. And I've gotten them from the bookstore. I've gotten them directly from you, so they could be autographed. Uh,
Thank you.
I've enjoyed them.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Because that's
Yeah.
all I really want. That's one of the things, like, I always wanted to have it where as long as my name is on the cover, even if it's outside of what you normally like, I want you to honestly to know that you're gonna love it anyway. Right?
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Y'all
Anybody
got me here
else?
smiling. And y'all know
Yeah,
I'll be
right?
grinning like this.
Is there anything we didn't ask you? Davida, anybody else have a question? No, you guys good? Okay. Is there anything else you want to share with us? I always ask you for, Davida? Are you
I
on?
just wanted to say the description in your books, the ones that I've read, you feel like you're right there with those characters, and you hate to even see the book end. I know Open Nations, I remember reading that a few years ago, and I remember that was one I couldn't put down because you just was stuck up at Mika. I think his name was Sedarius or something
Yep.
like that. It's been
Yeah.
Daria Mika.
felt like you were right there. So I applaud you, and I'm not big on a lot of science fiction either. But in recent years, I've read more. Of course, people like Octavia Butler and things like that. I've always read, but I applaud you for the different genres that you are writing.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, my
Okay.
friend, it is
Yeah.
9:03 and I need you to tell everyone how to get foreign.
Okay.
And the cost is $22.79.
Yeah, $22.79.
You can use Cash App,
Cash App. But if you use
PayPal.
Cash App, make sure that you message me, give me or put it in the notes, your shipping information.
Okay.
Yeah.
PayPal.
PayPal.
And
However, just let me listen. I accept pennies, quarters, nickels, dimes.
because it all spends, right?
It all spends.
It definitely does. So I need a pearl of wisdom from you. Wait a minute. How did we meet?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
It's too funny.
It was like
I was thinking about that today.
online. It was like online.
Was
You
it?
invited me to the Fresh, and the first one I couldn't come to because a lot of stuff was going on. I was sick.
Right.
And I couldn't make it, but it was online.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So go ahead. Give me it. I was thinking about that the other day. How did I meet him?
Yeah, I don't remember. It's one of those things where I don't know how we knew each other or how you knew about me, but listen, the universe.
It's all good though,
The universe don't make mistakes.
Yeah. The universe does not make mistakes.
No. Pearl of wisdom. be confident in everything that you do. Don't, sometimes, authors are shy. We're all different. We're all unique. We all have unique perspectives. We all have value, right? Don't be shy, and make sure that when you express yourself honestly.
Mhm.
Even if you might think that something might be off color, politically incorrect, am I the only person that feels this way? I promise you, you're not. I promise you, right? And so, in terms of like, in just be yourself and love yourself,
Right.
right? That's important. And that's not just for just creativity. That's just for your life period. When you love yourself, when you love your peace, where you value your peace, what it does is it makes it easier for you to get nonsense and toxicity away from you, right?
Out of the way. Thank you, my friend Keith
Yes,
Kareen Williams, and I'll see you in January.
yes.
And I'll do my save the book. Make sure I get my money to you for foreign.
All
And
right.
those of you who have pennies, dollars, nickels, we take it all.
You take it off.
Please make sure that you reach out to Keith and get his latest novel. And thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. And thank you, my friend. We'll see you
My
soon.
pleasure. All right.
Good
See you
night,
soon.
everybody.
But good night, everybody.